Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy D. Roy bring you yet another YouTube video at the time. So as you guys can see on your screens, we're going to be talking zombies in this discussion today. So we've got a few new cards. Obviously coming out here, we have two new cards for here. And going a little further back, there were a few more zombie cards that were revealed, and we're going to talk about those as well. So of course, you know me, I'm the zombie guy. So, when I see new zombies appear, I get the feeling that it's either, when I look at them, is either going to be mediocre, trash, or at least somewhat playable. We'll never really get any broken support that would seem unfair by normal standards, because you know how modern Yu-Gi-Oh is. It's been power crept like crazy. So, with all of that said, let's go ahead and get into these cards. Alright, so the first card is a spell card, Curse of the Ancient Turtle. This is a normal spell card that reads, you can banish one zombie monster from your hand or graveyard, send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. Excellent first effect. Excellent, excellent, excellent. If this is the only effect it had, it would be a solid card regardless, but obviously there's more. Second part of the effect reads, when your zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Special summon one zombie monster with 2000 or less defense from your deck. You can only use each effect of Curse of the Ancient Turtle once per turn. So obvious Shiranui synergy is obvious. When you banish your zombies, you obviously trigger Shiranui's effects. Mazera triggers off it as well. Any different zombies that trigger off of banish effects, this will trigger them off. While also getting you a zombie dump to the graveyard, which is Mizuki or any other zombies that have grave effects that you can utilize. So the second part of the effect essentially acts as what the card is based off of, which is Pyramid Turtle, as it can banish itself to special summon from your deck with 2000 less defense. Pyramid Turtle's effect, when it's destroyed by battle, it special summons a 2000 or less defense zombie from the deck as well. So, first effect solid, second effect uh, falls into the spirit of what the card it's showing, which is really good as well. Is a pretty nice touch to that. So, overall, definitely a solid card indeed. I would definitely give it a 2 or 3 of in most zombie decks. All right, next card is a Dark Necromancer. Now this is a level 4 Dark Zombie with 1000 attack, 1400 defense. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Fiend or Zombie Ritual monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, then add one Ritual spell card from your deck to your hand. Really solid. Obviously, you play this in Vendreads. That's pretty much a no-brainer. There's nothing to discuss there. So send in your zombie rituals, as all of the Vendreads can special summon themselves from the graveyard by activating any of the ritual spells that will get them out of the graveyard. So definitely a solid addition to the deck. Alright, and if this card is banished, you can target one of your banished level 4 or lower zombie fiend or zombie monsters, special summon it. You can only use each effect of Dark Elemental once per turn. So second effect is also really good. Also, as with always with zombies, there are a myriad of different ways of banishing to get this effect to trigger off, which will special summon one of your banished zombies. Is one of yours. Okay, it's only one of your banished. Oh lord. One of it can special summon another copy of itself. It doesn't say other than this card, so you could special summon another copy of this card if I'm reading that correctly. Otherwise, definitely a solid card indeed. A welcome addition to Vendreads and zombies as a whole, because it serves zombies in general and Vendreads in specific. Alright, so we're going to talk about some of the other zombie cards that were revealed. Alright, so we're on EDO Pro, and there were quite a few more zombies that were revealed. Some generic ones, one from the white archetype, and two cards from the outlook archetype as well. So let's go ahead and get into that as well. So first we're going to be talking about Wandering Titan of the Tartarus. This is a level 9 zombie, 2600 attack, 0 defense. This card is sent from your deck to the graveyard. Send as many cards you control as possible to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon this card. Then send cards your opponent controls to the graveyard up to the number sent to the graveyard by this effect. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to this effect's activation. So essentially, it's going to resolve regardless. Sending from the deck to the graveyard is a relatively simple thing, of course. It can be dumped off the Curse of the Ancient Turtle. Dumped in a myriad of different ways. Gozuki, Unizombie, Chang-Chi, you know, all the different ways in which zombies dump to the graveyard. Alright, next part of this effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, except from the deck, you can send one card from your hand to the graveyard. Send one card on the field to the graveyard. You can only use one Tartarus effect per turn and only once that turn, so you have to pick which effect you want to use for that given situation, depending on what the scenario is looking like for that. But regardless, both pretty solid effects. The first one, it does minus you a card economy in order to get rid of your opponent's stuff, so it's supposed to be an even trade. But I think you probably lose out more because you could be losing essential combo pieces, or depending on is really specific on what your hand situation is looking like when this effect resolves if you choose to use it. Alright, so solid card overall, has some interesting niches and definitely can work. Next card is Ween, Spirit of the Trees. Now this is a level 4 light zombie, 0 attack and defense. If this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect. If you still control this face-up card, your opponent chooses one of these effects for you to apply. This card gains 800 attack for each zombie monster currently in your graveyard. Inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each zombie in your graveyard. If this card is second effect reads, if this card is short of battle card effect, you can special summon one monster from your opponent's graveyard to your field. You can only use each effect once per turn. So this card has some interesting implications. It's more of a mid to late game card, because you can use this. Like if you dumped enough zombies, this card can get it to some obscene levels of attack, obviously. And for the late game, um, well, the thing is with the burn damage, your opponent chooses, what effect to apply. So if this is late game, the opponent's obviously not going to choose the inflict 500 damage because it could essentially kill them, obviously. But if they choose the 800 attack, that can actually set them up for a kill as well, because especially late game when you've dumped enough zombies, obviously it could get to some pretty decent levels of attack, and you can use that to close out the game, given the situation. So has some interesting implications. No good in the beginning stages of the game, of course. This is for mid to late game. Alright, next card is a Delta of Temptation. Now this is a field spell. That reads when this card is activated, you can send one level 5 or higher zombie from your deck to the graveyard. Wandering Titus of Tartarus, you can send that obviously as one of its targets. Nextly, you can only use each of the following effects of Temptation once per turn. If a zombie monster is on your field, you can special summon one Delta token. Zombie Dark, level 5/0/0. Okay, if a monster is added from your graveyard to your hand while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. You can only activate one Delta Temptation per turn. So this is actually a really solid field spell, as essentially on activation it gets you high level dumps to the graveyard. While on field, let's see. Once per turn, if a zombie monster is on the field, you can special summon. Well, okay, so it dumps to the graveyard activation. While there's a zombie on the field, it gets you an extra token on the field, which would be level 5. You can set up for synchro plays because this deck is for the most part, synchro related. You can also use this in Vendreads for ritual summons if you need be. And also it can add itself back to the hand when a zombie when if a monster is added from your graveyard to your hand while this card is in your graveyard. So if this is off the field for any reason and you add another zombie, you can add this as well, and you can serve as a multiple activation. So you may not even need multiple copies of this card. I'd say 1 to 2 at best. All right, so definitely a solid card indeed. All right, next card. This is the Mosa White. This is from the White archetype with Skull Servants and all that good stuff. So this card becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. Normal summon. You can add one Skull Sovereign or one card I mentioned it from your deck to your hand. In this context, we're not focusing on the archetype. We're just looking at its general implications. All right. So also we can special summon this from. You can't special summon for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters. You can only use this effect once per turn. During your main phase, you can normal summon one level 4 or lower zombie monster in addition to your normal summoner set. Now, this is the effect that has, more general use, in zombie decks as a whole. So you can use this to summon the aforementioned Spirit of Tears, you can use Zombie Solitaire to set up plays, Gozuki, other white monsters. Obviously, you can use King of Skull Servants or whatever the case may be. And yeah, so it has some pretty decent implications generally, and it's pretty good in its own archetype as well. So next we have two outlet cards. So the trap is Elixir, the Exotic Golden Land. You can pay 800 life points. Well, this is a continuous trap. You can pay 800 life points to activate one of these effects. Special summon this card as a normal monster, Zombie Light, level 10, 1500 attack, 2800 defense. This card is still treated as a trap. Then, if you control Golden Land, you can return one monster from the field to the hand. So, of course, this feeds into the whole when you have Golden Lord on the field. Most of the other traps do something when you have Golden Land on the field. This one bounces a card. Will turn on one monster on the field to the hand, which is pretty solid. Deals with extra deck stuff so they can't get effects or whatever the case may be. So the second effect, you can set one of your banished Golden Land or L-list spells and traps. So of course the L-list cards do banish themselves to search another L-lister or Golden Land card and set it to your field. So this allows you to reset the ones that you banished for their subsequent effects. So it's decent cards, some recursion. Obviously you can use the monster for other means. You can use it with Glow Up Bloom to synchro summon. You can use it as link fodder because there's no restrictions on what you can do with the monster that you summon off of it. So it has various implications in that regard. Alright, so next we're going to talk about the new fusion monster. Now this is Angel Kaido, the Golden Land. This is a fusion with level 10, 1800 attack, 2500 defense. This requires L-Lister, the Golden Lord, and a zombie monster. Must be fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by attributing one light zombie monster while you have L-Lister, the Golden Land on your field or in your graveyard. You can only fusion summon or special summon Golden Land this way once per turn. So it has an alternative summoning condition, which is pretty good. This card is sent from the field to the graveyard. You can special summon one Elvic monster from your deck, extra deck, or graveyard. You can only use each effect of Golden Land once per turn. So obviously, it has its implications in the Eldritch. Same thing. It's more of a fusion climb, or it's used for other things. Of course, it being on the field, it's not necessary for it to be on the field. Like you link off with this, synchro, whatever you want to do with it. Of course, once again, there's no restrictions on what you can do with the monster. So it'll summon an Elvix from your graveyard at deck or extra deck, which is pretty solid if you're running that strategy. Also, we have Most Charming Nihilist. So this is essentially a counter to zombies as a whole, because you guys know how zombies do. They summon from Graveyard or Banish, a la Shiranui and Mayakashi. Zombies in general just summon from the graveyard. Mayakashi is a big graveyard summoner. Of course, with Daki special summoning when you doing your synchro and link climbs. If this is activated on you, you're going to give the opponent a very huge advantage while you're doing your synchro and link climbing. So keep that in mind should you be playing zombies. Obviously, zombies are a niche deck as a whole, so it's not something you're going to encounter very often, but it is something to keep in mind. It's a hard counter to zombies in general. Alright, so overall thoughts on the zombie support. I like the two spells. I like the field spell, and I like the curse of the ancient turtle. The monsters seem pretty good. They have some general use for zombie decks. The what's this called? The Necromancer is actually pretty good. It gives Vendors a pretty decent boost. To supplement your pre-prep and preparation cards, as this also adds a ritual spell card from your deck to your hand as well. So, there is some implications there, but does it do anything ultimately for zombies? No, it's still not enough to complete with what we have going on nowadays. It's still rather underpowered. You would need an entire overhaul. The power creeping zombies needs to be real in order for them to have any significant push in the modern game. Alright, so those are my thoughts overall. Let me know what you guys think of zombies. Of course, my main boys, Billy, Protocurity. I want you guys in my comments. Let me know what you guys think of these zombie cards. And of course, I'll be answering you guys when you guys hit me up. Alright, so I will leave that at that. So I'll be bringing you guys more videos in the meantime. But until then, peace. You too.